right, so today we're going to take a look at what we worked on for our small business consulting project for Brooklyn Bicycles. So we did three things to improve their spreadsheet. So first thing is, one of the things that they wanted to do was, currently they manually color code all of their orders. So if you take a look at this Google sheet here, each of these colors represents a different status for a bike. If it's been shipped to the shop, it hasn't been picked up. If it's out of stock, et cetera, et cetera. We have a different color for every status code. So this process is a little time consuming, and to be honest, you have to go through, and once you want to change something, you have to go through and know exactly what color you want to pick and highlight that row. So that's how you can decide which status each row is in. So to make this easier, what we did was we created a drop down right here that have different status codes associated with them. And the company is going to choose these. But what we do is actually change the status code, and you can tell the entire row actually changes color by itself. So this preserves the color aspect of the spreadsheet while also allowing the user to have an easier way to determine what status something is in. So it's very easy to pull these drop-down boxes as opposed to going through and highlighting this entire row, changing the color itself. So this saves about 10 to 20 minutes a day of changing colors. It makes it much easier to navigate as well. So the second thing we did was Brooklyn Bikes has a whole list of bike shops that they use or are planning to use as partners for their pickup program. And what we wanted to do is want to understand what the Google rating is for each of these shops. So in order to do that, one of the things you could do is you could have someone sit there and literally go through Google and look up every shop rating on Google Rating and kind of find that manually. But the problem is these shop ratings update all the time, and you really need someone to spend probably about 2 or 3 hours per day doing that, and that's very time consuming. So the thing we actually did was we took the bike shop name, and we're able to actually use a function called getLock to actually extract all this data. So if you can take a look, all we need is the bike shop name right here in column A, and we have a function called getLock in A2. And what we can do is automatically find the address, the phone number, the Google rating, and if it's permanently closed or not, since we can knock those off our sheet. So if you just drag that formula down, it's loading, boom. It takes all the information from Google and pulls it right into the spreadsheet. So we can go through this maybe once every month or quarterly to actually go through and identify the shops that kind of meet a lower threshold and kind of eliminate them from our list. Or if we want to look at all the bike shops that we have not partnered with, we can kind of eliminate the ones that are below a certain threshold in terms of rating, because we want our customers to have a really great experience. So this really automates that process for Brooklyn Bikes. They don't need to manually do this, which is really tedious, takes a lot of time. And you can also find the ones that are permanently closed as well, because you don't want to work with bike shops that are closed. So it's easy to identify that through this column. Now, none of these shops are closed, but if we go further down the list, we'll find some where that says this is actually closed. So it's a pretty easy way for the company to automate this process. And the last thing we did was something called a store locator. So what you want to do, what the company was doing before was they were getting the customer's address and then going online to either Google or their own store locator app to find the nearest shop that the customer will pick up at. So this is a very manual process. You have to go to Google. You have to find that shop. You have to make sure it's on the list of partners that you work with. And then you have to make sure that you have to copy all that information back in. So what we did here was actually made it a lot easier for them to do that. So they were kind of moving back between the spreadsheet and the internet and trying to move data back and forth. So in order to simplify this process, what we did is build a store locator app right within Google Sheets itself. So if you take a look at that, it's a customer's address. We're going to put a new address in here. And then it's going to find us the nearest bike shop. So this looks like San Francisco. The nearest bike shop is Swell Bicycles on Irving Street. And it tells us the distance and also the driving distance as well. So this gives us a little bit of a check. What we can do is maybe something's across the ocean or across the river from where someone is. It says only 2 miles away, but it really takes 30 miles to actually drive that location. So In the case of this, it's 2 miles away, but it takes about 2.8 miles to drive there. So we know that that's a good option for that customer. Just for another example, this is my New York address. We pop that in there. It loads, takes about 5 seconds, and it's going to load that Larry's Freewheeling. And I know that shop. I run by it almost every day. It's the nearest one. It's about a little over half a mile, about 3/4 of a mile to drive there. So yeah, it really allows Brooklyn Bicycles to not have to do this manually for every single customer order they get, but they're able to kind of automatically find the nearest bike shop. And what we're going to do in the future is actually put 2 nearest bike shops, so they have a couple options in terms of who they want to work with. So yeah, this is the automation portion of our Brooklyn Bikes project.